If you've ever heard of fibromyalgia, or if you know someone who lives with it, a fibro warrior as they're often called, then you've probably come across a really, really frustrating question. It's a question that can feel so dismissive of so much pain. And today, we're going to tackle it head on. So let's just get right to it. Is fibromyalgia actually a real thing? I mean, this one question is the source of so much pain and misunderstanding, and it's something people with this condition hear way too often. And wow, this quote from the Fibro Warriors just hits it on the head, doesn't it? It perfectly captures that exhaustion, that feeling of having to constantly prove that your own pain is real. So, let's be crystal clear. Based on everything we know from patients' experiences and a long medical history, the answer is a resounding yes. Fibromyalgia is 100% real. It's not a hoax, it's not psychosomatic, and it is definitely not all in your head. But that kind of raises a big question, right? If it's so real, why is there still so much doubt out there? Well, that brings us to our first section. To really get it, we have to look at the history and just the very nature of this illness, because it's created, well, a perfect storm for skepticism. First off, you gotta understand, this is not some new trendy thing. The source material points out that descriptions of these exact symptoms go all the way back to the 1500s. And over the centuries, it's gone through dozens of different names, from fibrositis to what we call fibromyalgia today, and all that change has just added to the confusion. So you have this long, confusing history, and then you add in these other factors. For one, it's an invisible illness. You just can't see it on someone. Then there's no simple blood test or scan for it. And on top of all that, for years, a lot of misinformation has tried to frame it as just a psychological problem, which created this huge, unfair stigma. And the impact of all that skepticism, it's just devastating. This quote here brutally sums up how people with fibromyalgia feel they're seen, not just that people don't believe them, but that they're actually being judged as bad people. Okay, so with all that in mind, let's dive in and start debunking the biggest, most damaging myths out there, because this is where all that doubt really starts to cause real harm. Think about this. This slide highlights a huge double standard. If your friend says they have a broken leg, your first reaction is probably, oh my gosh, what can I do to help? But when it's fibromyalgia, that empathy often gets replaced by a demand for proof, a demand to see the science. And yeah, as the source material puts it, ouch. Just ouch. Because that demand, that disbelief, it just piles emotional pain right on top of the physical pain they're already dealing with. This really gets to the heart of what's called the doubting Thomas problem. For a lot of us, seeing is believing. And when there's nothing obvious to see, no cast, no rash, no tumor on a scan, it becomes a much bigger leap of faith. And that's the fundamental challenge for any invisible illness. And that skepticism, it fuels this really ugly junkie stereotype. The perception can be that people with fibro want painkillers to get high, but the reality is they need them just to function, to get out of bed, to go to the grocery store. It's a crucial, crucial difference between want and need. All of this skepticism builds into another huge point of confusion, the way the symptoms can change from day to day. It creates what we can call the invisibility problem. So someone might look at a person with fibromyalgia and think, okay, wait a minute. Yesterday, you told me you were in so much pain you couldn't even walk. And today, you're out running errands. It just doesn't add up. See, this apparent contradiction is one of the biggest reasons people get suspicious and start to doubt if the illness is even real. But here's a fantastic way to make sense of it. Think about an athlete. They have arm days and leg days so they can let different muscle groups recover. For a fibro warrior, life is a constant balancing act of managing energy and pain. They might have a good day and use that energy to be active, knowing full well it won't cost them for the next 2 days. It's a calculated trade-off, not a sign that they're faking it. Ultimately, trying to explain the pain of fibromyalgia is a little like trying to describe the feeling of skydiving to someone who's never jumped out of a plane. You can use all the words you want, rush, wind, falling, but they can never, ever truly grasp the sensation. They just have to trust your description. So, how do we fix this? How do we bridge this huge gap between damaging doubt and, productive understanding and support? Well, the first step is to recognize that most people who ask these skeptical questions, they're not trying to be malicious. They're often just ignorant. They really just don't know any better. And understanding that is kind of the first step toward empathy. And the source material lays out this really clear 3-step path forward. Number 1, show no shame. Guilt implies you did something wrong, and you didn't. 2, stay calm. Getting angry just makes people defensive, but being calm can open the door to a real conversation. And 3, the most important one, educate. Education is hands down the most powerful tool we have against ignorance. That means being open to talking about it, sharing good resources, and yeah, even recognizing how powerful celebrity voices like Lady Gaga have been in bringing a new level of legitimacy to the condition. Seriously, every single conversation helps chip away at that mountain of misinformation. And that really brings us to the final and maybe the most crucial takeaway from all of this. Maybe you'll never fully get what it feels like. That whole skydiving analogy will always just be words. But here's the thing. You don't actually have to understand the pain to believe the person who is experiencing it.